Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Vivisection. If you just finished watching the MMA Depressed Us, I am right back. You can never get enough of me. I know that, and that's why I keep feeding myself to you all as often as possible, one piece at a time. Um, I am joined by Eddie Mercado and Victor Rodriguez. This week, we are breaking down Bellator 173. It exists. That's the title of this card. And who's Eddie? You're thrilled, right? You're thrilled for this.
I am so excited. We've had so many main event changes. The people falling out left and right. I mean, who doesn't love that? And the tape delay on top of that. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, give me more.
You know, I mean, what's more thrilling than Liam McGeary against a guy that people thought had retired?
Yeah. Or against someone who people thought was Ali Thompson.
Or thought was Vladimir Filipovich. Or thought was Mirko Krokop, rather, because his name's Filipovich.
Or Maury Povich. Yeah, there you go. That's the way.
Picture now on Tapology of Vladimir Filipovich. Dude looks like he is seriously methed out.
Methed out.
Damn. Oh, Bryce. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. He looked like Bubba McDaniel, like, you know, I don't know.
No.
Damn, can't even say anything nice about it. Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's a scary looking dude. That's a dude who looks like he's ready to steal the copper out of your wiring. All right. Anyway, we are here to talk about this awesome Bellator card, which sits on top of what is actually a pretty decent Bama card.
Yes.
Actually, the Bellator card is nothing to talk about at all, but they're partnering with Bama, and usually when Bellator partners with somebody, they have they just tack on like an extra 15 fights to their card, and you just have this 20-fight Bellator card. But the way they're doing this one is actually separate events. Kind of like when I think it was Cage Rage partnered with Strike Force way back in the day, and you had like if it wasn't Cage Rage, it was maybe it might have been King of the Cage. I can't remember which. And you'd have like
it was King of the Cage.
Yeah, okay, it was King of the Cage, and you had like a full King of the Cage card, and it would be announced and scheduled like a King of the Cage card and all that. And then they had like the mini Strike Force card afterward. This is very much Scott Coker throwback to that, where you've got a fully separate Bama event and then a Bellator main card sitting on top of it. So we're not going to get too far into this Bama event, but it has 5 title fights, a lightweight title fight, undefeated Rice McKee versus undefeated Tim Barnett. Recently, a brother of recently released Taylor Lapilus, Damian Lapilus, in a featherweight title fight against Ronnie Mann, the former Bellator standout or Bellator prospect.
That sounds great. I like that one.
And then a flyweight title fight, Andy Young versus Dominic Wooding. And then the main event is a lightweight title fight. One of these must be a regional lightweight title because there's 2 lightweight title fights. I'm guessing the Rice McKee versus Tim Barnett is actually a regional lightweight title. And then the Bama World Lightweight title, Norman Park, Paul Redmond, battle of former UFC fighters. So a solid Bellator offering, or not Bellator, but a Bama offering that actually has a little more name value than the Bellator card on top of it, frankly.
It seems like a really good show to go to if you're going to sit through both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings us.
I'm sorry. No, that's a perfect assessment, especially when you consider that some of the fighters there probably have a lot more local pull, so maybe the local show will be more fun as far as the crowd experience is concerned.
Yeah, and maybe you get a little higher production values. Although Bama has always actually been really well produced.
Yes. Really. Especially in like the last 2 years or so, they've really kicked it up a few notches.
Yeah. So it should be a fun show to watch. It's just this Bellator card, when you look at it on its own, it's just it really has nothing to pull the eye at all.
It's like the land of misfit toys, you know.
All right, so we're gonna dive straight into this. Not spend too much time fawning over a card that has very little to fawn over. The first bout on the Bellator card, a welterweight fight between Colin Fletcher, former UFC vet, and 10-1 prospect Alex Lahore. What are your thoughts on this fight, Vic?
Well, I think for those who don't remember Colin Fletcher from his stint on The Ultimate Fighter and eventually the
Doesn't
UFC,
remember Colin Fletcher? The
how can you
creepy
not?
clown mask and all the tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, let's try this again. For those who don't remember what his fighting used to look like,
There you go.
there we go. Because let's be fair, not anything against him, but guys that haven't been in the UFC for a while, it's kind of easy to forget, But as it relates to Fletcher, very basic Muay Thai, very good with his sort of trip takedown setups. Really, really good at starting to wear guys down when he's got him up against the fence. The problem is his cardio seems to be a factor in a lot of his fights. And sort of from the second round on, his striking doesn't look as accurate anymore. And his defense starts to fall apart. And then everything else sort of maybe goes by the wayside. Also, if you look at the guy, super slender. Sometimes some people can be deceptively strong. This guy's pretty strong, but Lahore is probably the type of fighter that's going to be able to bully him around and make this a mugging. Maybe there might be something of a stalemate when it comes to both fighters establishing range. It might not look very pretty. And it's probably going to be one of those fights that's determined much more with the striking, both inside the clinch and just inside of the pocket. But I don't really see much else going on here, especially if it comes to the ground. I don't see one guy having too many advantages over the other. So I'm probably going to go with Lahore here as a safer bet.
All right, Eddie. You picking the freak show?
You know what? I am picking the freak show. He's weird, man. He was officially 0-2 in the UFC, fought Norman Park and Mike Ricci. I really no shame in losing to those guys, I suppose, especially Mike Ricci. But he's got that tall man striking, you know what I mean? He's got these really long but like kind of soft strikes, but his head kind of just stays up there and he'll just kind of flinch away to avoid strikes. But when he gets in close, he's pretty vicious with his in close, like even off his back or in the clinch, he's elbowing the shit out of you and everywhere. I mean, he's vicious, He is no fun to fight up close. And he's got 9 of his wins come by sub. So he's dangerous there as well. On the other side, you got Lahore, who, he's 10-1, but all of his fights have come within a 2-year span. And he's only got 2 years under his belt. So it's like, yeah, you're 10-1 and he's never fought someone with a losing record, but he's really he's not great anywhere. He seems to know something everywhere, and he's athletic, but he's only great at being athletic. Freak Show at least has his subs to fall back on, and he's kind of slick with them too. So I'm picking Freak Show here. I think he can force Lahore to make a mistake. Lahore is really decisive with his decision making. He's gonna whatever he's doing, he's going for it, right or wrong. And I feel like with a little bit of pressure, he can make a mistake. And the whole fight's going to be one gigantic scramble. So I'm picking Freak Show. I think Lahore will probably come out strong and get him early, but I think Fletcher will either get a late submission or take the decision.
Yeah, it's interesting because Fletcher doesn't have he does not tend to beat good athletic prospects. His ceiling is really fighters that win a lot more than they lose or are good athletes. Just he does not clear that bar very often. But like you say, Lahore is really raw in the game, really new. A lot of his wins are over guys who are 2-0, 2-1, 3-0, 2-2, and nothing really to write home of. But it'll be interesting to see if this is a high enough, if he's a good enough athlete just to best Colin Fletcher's experience, because that's always where Fletcher falls down, is he's just not athletic at all.
Yeah. He's tough as shit, though.
He's
only been knocked out once, and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, he is no doubt he is tough as shit. Odds on this fight, Lahore is entering as the favorite, in fact, opening at minus 190, now at minus 187. Very little. I think these lines probably opened. Yeah, they opened today, so there's no movement on these lines. And Fletcher at plus 153. So
If Fletcher moves up to like the 200s or higher, that might be worth something. But as is, that's not worth it for Freak Show.
no,
Who are you picking in this one,
he's
Zane?
13-7.
Who are you picking in this one?
I'm picking Lahore. I think. I think that Fletcher. I've seen. There's too many guys that are even just like reasonable prospects that he's lost to make me feel like he's taking enough steps forward with his technical game to win tough fights.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly though.
It will. It'll be ugly. And he absolutely could win. As a veteran, he should win this fight, but that you could say that several times in his career. And that brings us to a featherweight bout: James McErlin versus Shea Walsh. Eddie, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is going to be another one that's going to be a just mad dash, and whoever comes out on top is whoever comes out on top. McErlin, if I said that right, McErlin, he's really a ground guy. He's been 5 rounds once. It was a losing effort though. Coming off 3 straight submission wins. His stand-up is a little suspect. I've seen him get dropped in fights before. Shea Walsh, on the other hand, he was the Bama bantamweight champion before Duquesnoy knocked him out with that vicious elbow and he did the face flop.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's been there. He's lost pretty big fights, but he's fought a certain level of competition that counts for something. And he trains at Tiger and Muay Thai, which is a pretty decent squad. I think he takes it. I got to go with Walsh here. I think he's more complete. I think he's more well-rounded, even though McErlin he's a winner. He comes back, he stays in it, and he finds ways to pull out submissions. But I just don't think he's going to get it done. I'm expecting a war, so I'm going to pick Walsh by decision.
All right, Vic, what are your thoughts here? Yeah, one note here about what Eddie just mentioned in terms of the level of competition that Walsh has faced. He does have fights against Andy Ogle, Artem Lubov, Duquesnoy, and Andrew Fisher. All of those were losing efforts. He does have a win over former Ultimate Fighter contestant Saul Rogers. What that really says about this particular fight, I mean, I'm not really sure that experience fighting guys on that level is going to be too much of a factor here just yet. What I think is going to be a bigger element is the fact that when you look at the way that McErlin fights, he's pretty much like flypaper. His whole thing is getting that opportunity to clinch up, get his double underhooks, and try to get the fight to the ground and then start working from there. Whereas Walsh has so many more offensive opportunities standing. Again, another one of those guys who's really good at establishing the clinch and starting to work clinch takedowns or trying to take guys down against the cage. But he might not even want to engage him on the ground and keep things where he would obviously have an advantage. His reach seems to be an advantage here as well. His precision with his striking seems to be another factor. So, I'm not sure that McErlin will be able to really get this where he needs the fight to go in order for him to win. So I'm going to have to go with Walsh on this.
All right. The odds on that one are non-existent, so we don't get them. I don't know why there are no odds for that fight, but I was all ready for that. It feels like there should be, but we don't have them. All right, that takes us to a catchweight bout, women's catchweight bout at 140 pounds between Sinead Kavanagh and Ioni Razafiarison.
That's good. Rastafarian.
Rastafarian. That was the easy pickup. That was good though. I like that.
So, Vic, what are your thoughts on this one?
You'll have to excuse the crying in the background. I have a teething infant who's just being, silly right now. Okay, so we saw Yoni fight before. She's not bad. She's just a little undersized. I mean, she's primarily got very basic kickboxing. Pretty keen on using what appears to be her judo background and really establishing good front headlock control, things of that sort. Kavanaugh's a little meatier. She's a little bigger. She's going to be heavier than some of the opponents that she's faced, and she can really, really hurt other people standing. So I don't know, man. I don't see how Reza Fiarson can really put a dent in that because Kavanaugh can take some hits too. I got to go with Kavanaugh on this one, and it's probably going to be one of those knockouts in the first or second round.
All right, Eddie, your thoughts?
All right, so Kavanaugh, Straight Blast Gym Ireland, one of their products. She even does the little shuffle, that Connor does to close the distance. Even Gallagher does that shit too. It's really not a good look, like it looks cool, but I'm not sure how sound it is technically.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of SBG Ireland. It seems to be like it works for Conor and other people do it, and you're really not sure. Like, should Cathal Pendred be really fighting like Conor McGregor?
It's
true.
It's like that guy who came out of the Cesar Gracie camp. I don't remember his name. Right? He was recently in the UFC.
Chris Avila.
Chris Avila. There you go. Yeah. He's tried to fight like the Diaz brothers, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that at Alliance also. They try that high, active footwork, and some dudes just aren't built like that.
Yeah. Anyway.
But the style does suit her because she is really heavy-handed. I believe she was a national boxing champion, so she can throw her hands, and we saw that in her Bellator debut. Elena Calianito, I said that right. And that's another thing. Everyone she's ever fought has the most impossible last name to pronounce. Like, go look at that. It's insane. I challenge anybody to do that. But she was so dominant in that fight. I mean, right off the bat, she came out throwing heavy leather, pushed her opponent up against the clinch, and just dominated. Her opponent had absolutely nothing for her. Granted, her opponent was 18 years old. Probably shouldn't have been in there. And honestly, she probably could have and should have got the finish. Outside of Mercy, I don't understand why she didn't get the finish. But I got to pick her in this. Raza Fiarison, she is inexperienced, 1-1 or 2-1, depending on where you look. Tapology says one thing, Sherdog says another. I've seen her change levels. I've seen her dive on leg locks. I've seen her willing to trade. But she is a little unrefined on the feet, and I think that's where she's going to get into trouble. I think she's going to fail to get the takedown, and it's going to force her to stand and trade, and she's going to get clocked. And I wouldn't be surprised seeing a first-round TKO here. So I'm picking Kavanaugh TKO.
Odds agree with you guys. Kavanaugh opening at minus 500 thereabouts, and Raza Fiarison opening at plus 350 about. Let's see, plus 335 now, plus 348.
You're 4-0 and you're minus 500.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous for a woman that has an amateur loss to Anna Elmos to be coming in at minus 500 over anyone.
Yeah, that's wild.
This is the most clown shoes sport ever. That's exactly why these things happen.
All right, let's see. That brings us to our co-main event now. I can't believe it's the co-main event, but whatever. Featherweight bout, James Gallagher, Kirill Medvedovsky. And Eddie, talk me through it.
All right. So Kirill Medvedovsky.
Yep.
He had a rough debut, man. They put him against Georgi Karakanyan at 150 pounds. Completely undersized, completely outclassed. Karakanyan got a takedown in under a minute. I mean, he actually Kirill stayed pretty safe on the ground, but then Karakanyan let him back up. And I think Kirill went for like a judo throw and just failed, and Karakanian just smushed him and started just clocking him. And there was like maybe some weird injury or something. I don't even know the specifics of what happened, but he just started screaming, and the refs jumped in and stopped the fight. And it was just, I guess, a moral victory because he did sort of well on the ground, and it was Karakanian, and he had the balls to take the fight. A lot of people wouldn't take that fight. So he's tough. He's super tough and super active off his back. Jiu-jitsu is his thing. His stand-up is suspect. I'm not sure how good he is on the feet. I've seen him in a Thai fight, but the dude he was fighting was like 50-something, or it looked at least like 50 years old. Gallagher, on the other hand, he's like a hot shit prospect. He's another SBG guy, 5-0, 4 submissions to his credit, 2-0 in Bellator. I feel like he's got that same SBG style that doesn't really suit him necessarily. He's not a volume striker, but I feel like he's built for volume. He doesn't have the power to fight like that with the one-off strikes. Connor has the power. Gallagher, he's only 20 years old. Perhaps he'll grow into it. The power will come. But as of right now, the one-off striking is winning against Mike Cutting. He's winning against Anthony Taylor, but even Taylor was kind of clocking him on the feet. I think he needs to keep it standing here. This is a perfect chance to get some rounds in on the feet, really let your hands go, work your striking. There's no reason to have a pissing contest on the ground with a jiu-jitsu guy. Like, that Kirill's a grappler. Like, keep it on the feet. I think that's what needs to happen. If he takes it to the ground, there's a chance he's getting subbed. So if Gallagher keeps it on the feet, I got him. I think he'll pick up the decision. So Gallagher by decision.
All right, Vic, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to have to disagree with Eddie on this here, and mostly because of the fact I think Gallagher's got a better chance.
Vic, we've lost you. We've lost your audio.
Oh, how about now?
Now you're back.
Yay. Okay. I got to disagree with Eddie there. I think Gallagher's got a better opportunity on the ground than you're giving him credit for. Not only that, I think he might be crafty enough to work his way to a submission. Kirill has had, he's bounced around a bit after starting off in the Israeli scene. We've seen him in Kunlun fights out in China. We've seen him in ACB. The guy's tried to keep busy and everything, but I just don't I don't know. I don't know about his grappling defense being something that Gallagher can't find some opportunity to crack through. When it comes to standing, however, I think Medvedovsky might be a little craftier. I think he might be a little clever in terms of how he closes the distance and might not want to be as tentative as he's been in some of his previous fights, most notably like his last fight in ACB. There were some of the exchanges that were a little, he seemed a bit gun shy, and the same thing happened with that fight in China, in Kunlun fight. So, yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Medvedovsky here pulling out, which, I want to say the upset, but I'm not even sure if we have odds on this. But I'm going to go with Kirill on this. I don't know. I got a pretty good feeling on it.
All right. You're going with Medvedovsky as well. Odds have Gallagher as the coming in at minus 505 now to minus 650. And Medvedovsky, the underdog, at plus 335 now to plus 444. So
I'm still rolling with it. I ain't pulling out. Fuck out of here. So we end up.
That's almost worth a bet, to be honest.
You're getting like plus 450 odds against a dude who his best win is Mike Cutting, 7-4. Mike Cutting.
Anthony Taylor's probably a better win. But yeah.
Anthony Taylor,
go put 20 on him. Throw a 20 spot on Kirill for shits and giggles.
For $100 back.
Hey.
That may be that may be something worth looking at because I mean, there's just Gallagher may be a good prospect, but there's no saying that his 5-0 record is like worth. There's just no reason for him to be that kind of favorite. Regional MMA, like unless guys are being set up with absolute cans, there's no reason anybody should be more than like plus or minus 150, 200. It's way too unpredictable.
No.
Yeah, and it gives Kirill value here. It really does.
Yeah.
That's worth a bet. That is worth a bet.
Now on the being set up against absolute cans, we come to our main event. And I don't say this to be mean to Brett McDermott. He's a fine fighter. I don't want to disregard him. But the odds makers have absolutely disregarded him, and he is Bellator's third choice for this fight.
I don't know if I'd call that a choice at this point, but hey, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Liam McGeary, Brett McDermott. Tell me about it, Vic.
Yeah, a little bit of background for those who haven't been following this harrowing saga. Initially, the fight was supposed to be against Chris Fields, who got injured, then Vladimir Filipovich, who also got injured, and now on a few days' notice, Brett McDermott, England's own, he's coming in here, was believed to be retired, and he's going to be taking on Liam McGeary in a very strange fight with even stranger circumstances surrounding it. And, of course, we all like things that are strange. That's why we're here. Damn, I feel kind of bad for the guy at this point because, I mean, yeah, at least he gets a payday, and there's something of a moral victory if he does relatively well. Problem is, he's going to be fighting a guy in McGeary who, even though his stand-up is a bit clunky, it is functional, and his use of reach and his management of distance is actually pretty good. And I think that's something that McDermott's going to struggle against pretty heavily. Not only that, but McDermott's got the beach muscles. He's got a very big Ninja Turtle ass back. He's got a whole bunch of he's got a lot of mass that he's working with here, and I don't know if that's what's affecting his mobility, but he does have a very slow pace. Once he starts getting front teep kicks to the legs and inside leg kicks, I don't know how well he's going to do. I don't know how much longer his already questionable movement is going to, serve him in any capacity. And then there's the matter of what happens on the ground. I mean, Liam McGeary, we've seen him be absolutely lethal on his back. I don't see that there's any way that this fight doesn't end up in some situation where McGeary ends up either by accident or intentionally on the ground and eventually establishing top position if he feels like it, and then working the submission or the ground strike finish from there. So I don't see any real avenues outside of a flash knockout from McDermott. And again, I don't see him putting himself in that kind of position to actually launch that hand and make it happen. So it's very nice of him to step up. I think it's great. Both of them get a payday, but I really don't see much of this working out for him.
All right. Eddie, do you have any better chance for McDermott here against McGeary?
Not exactly, but to the reason, or maybe perhaps a reason for the pace of McDermott is the fact that he'll be 39 years old this year, if he's not already. So he's not exactly a spring chicken.
He hasn't always. I'm sorry, but he hasn't always been the most spry motherfucker now for the last few years. I mean, I'm not to knock the guy, but it's kind of been consistent with him.
Yeah, but I mean, he's only got 11 fights, though. He's just. I thought he was Ollie Thompson for the longest time. I thought they were the same person. I'm not even kidding. Man, there's really no shot for him. He's going to get boxed up. I don't even see any grappling taking place. I think he's going to get boxed up in probably under a half a round, honestly. These are facts, man. These are facts. Liam McGeary, he's nice with the hands. I mean, that's one thing that dude can do is that he can box, and he's long and he knows where the end of his punches are, and that's dangerous. And McDermott's just so hittable. Like that King Mo knockout was sad. Like it was real sad. It was like a double right hand. And Mo is slow, like a double right hand from Mo, that's knocking you out. Man, it makes me kind of sad, honestly. Like I know what's going to happen, and it's like it kind of takes a little of the steam away from it.
Well, I don't think anybody out there in the betting community disagrees with you. The lines on this fight, McGeary opened at minus 1,200.
Get
He's
the
now
fuck.
at minus 1,000. So somebody's betting against him. I don't know why. My guess is no, actually, yeah, both lines have moved. I don't know who's betting against Liam here. McDermott opened at plus 600 and is now plus 588.
Some degenerate fuck is gonna Nancy Kerrigan this cat. That's what happened.
Maybe they're betting he gets injured. I don't know.
Nah, I guess.
Betting's big over in the UK. So.
It is. So maybe he's got maybe McDermott has a bunch of hometown crowd fans who are willing to put a $5 on him and suggest.
Or like maybe drunk enough to put like the house on him. Be like, we're going all in on McDermott. This is his chance.
Okay.
If there is a God, may he smile proudly upon them. I mean,
Before we get too far into the hypothetical life ruining that could be Bellator 173, let's close the show. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSam. You can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find Vic on Twitter at Vic M. Rodriguez. You can find all three of us over at BloodyElbow.com in our various capacities. Give this video a like on YouTube. That's the thumbs up thing down there. That helps us a ton. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM. We will be back next week to talk about UFC 209, and we will have Care Don't Care, If I Did It, Vivisection, Knuckle Up, Heavy Hands, all the rest of our stuff going into that. So tune in for all that, and we'll see you again.
And Bella.